He went to a sheriff and he says, Pastor, he said, Sheriff, the state's trying to shut my church down. Are you going to defend my constitutional rights? And the sheriff said, absolutely. I'll go to jail before I let them shut your church down. Yeah. So that sheriff stood on the steps of that church week after week while the state police were on the other side of the street, ready to arrest the pastor and shut down that church. So that was a good sheriff. He interposed. That's interposition. So I'm teaching some ideas here. Second idea was non-compliance. The people, the congregants, they doubled their attendance. So the people themselves said, Governor can say what she wants, we're not going to comply. You have an obligation to not comply with an unconstitutional order. So the people are turning out. Third thing is nullification. So the sheriff shows up on Sunday morning. This is a picture of him on the platform of the church. And he says, you know, guys, I've been reading the Constitution of our state. And it says here that during a state of emergency, I have the authority to deputize as many citizens as I need to address the emergency. He says, everyone please rise, raise your hand, repeat after me. And he swore in the whole congregation as sheriff's deputies. So they basically nullified the order because all of those deputies are there investigating the COVID situation at that church. So you see where this is going. It's nullification. So there's interposition, non-compliance, and nullification. A key to nullification is that you do it together. You do it as a community. And there isn't one leader, there's a group of you. And so this is where we fall down as a community. We wait for one person to stand up, but if one person stands up, they're the one in jail. We as a community need to rise up together and work together. And there wasn't a leader of the 50 guys with the guns on the steps. It's just 50 concerned citizens. That's where it needs to be. All right, so I just got to tell you this fun example, and then I'll wrap it up. Yeah, I got time. So in Ohio, Governor DeWine, he's a stupid governor. He's a Republican, but he was one of the first governors in the country to shut down the schools during COVID. So anyway, he said during COVID, we're going to limit groups to 10. So these brilliant supermoms in our state, gosh, I love these ladies. They taught me so much. I had no idea about this stuff. These ladies taught me. They organized a dance ball in the capital of Columbus. 600 of us from around the state showed up. They had a big jazz band. We danced the night away. 600 of us. No masks, no nothing. We streamed the whole thing online. We played spin the bottle. It was like a super spreader party. And we invited the governor to come join us. I mean, it was an amazing, amazing night. I brought Nellie there. She loves to dance. We just danced the night away. So in other words, he said you can't. By the way, which constitutional right does that violate? Our right to peaceably assemble. You never give up your rights, and these ladies got it. I thought they were a little wackadoodle at the time, but boy, were they on. They were right on message, right on point. The governor said, you can't? Oh yeah? We're gonna. They overtly nullified the unconstitutional order. What if you can prove that your elections are unconstitutional? Which we can. And what we do is we form these teams. And then you get a copy of your voter rolls. And you find a whole bunch of people in your rolls who are voting, who are not real voters. You find people who are dead who voted. We found 49 without hardly even looking in San Joaquin. People who are dead who voted. Every one of those ballots is disenfranchising you from your constitutional right. Every fraudulent ballot nullifies one of your ballots. That's violating your civil rights. That's violating your constitutional rights. Guess what? You are obligated to not comply with any law or policy that's disenfranchising you from your constitutional rights. You are now empowered, once you've done that, to say to the state, we're not complying with your stupid orders because they're disenfranchising us from our constitutional rights. We're holding to the higher law. You're not breaking any laws. You're holding to the higher law, the Constitution. You see where this is going? See why this works? This works all over the country. Anyway, second thing is, when he said you had to wear masks in public places, the ladies organized shopping days all over the state, where they, like 20 or 30 of them would show up at Kmart, take their masks off, and go shopping. You know, what are they going to do? What store manager is going to throw 30 moms out of the store, right? And it decides what are they going to do? Call the police and drag them out? boy, that would have been fun. All right, the principle is we either use our rights or we lose our rights. And what's happened to us is we have given up our rights so steadily and incrementally, we've now lost our rights because we've been complying too long. we now have to stand. And we don't have to do it all at once. Just how about an incremental stand? How about counting your ballots before you turn them in? Boy, watch them scream bloody murder. You want to get rid of mail-in voting? Yes. Here's how. They won't want to give you the ballots anymore because you're doing stuff with it. So the principle is use your rights or lose your rights. And I'm going to jump ahead because we got to wrap it up. It's a war between good and evil. That's already made today. The Constitution is our best weapon. 4 years ago, I thought my evidence was the best weapon. I thought the fact I could hack into everybody's elections was the best weapon. I had to learn. Nope, it's not the evidence. We're winning from the bottom up with the people. I had to learn that. We need to fight the First Amendment war so it doesn't become a Second Amendment war. And I think we're headed towards a Second Amendment war, guys. So let's fight the First Amendment war now as hard as we can so that is less so. And we need to use our First Amendment rights like weapons. And I could tell you stories, but I'm going to run out of time because I want to tell you one more story. This is right from me learning wisdom from around the country. We're the sovereigns. I already told you that. This is right from Urson. Urson's taught me so much too. We don't ask for permission. When you go to your county ROV, you don't go to them and say, "Oh, pretty please, can we get rid of these systems?" You go to your ROV and you say, "Excuse me, I'm being disenfranchised from my constitutional rights. This system is unconstitutional. You're legally responsible for this. We're going to hold you legally accountable for every one of these cases of fraud, for every one of these dirty voter roll things that's not in compliance with state and federal law. We're holding you accountable. You no longer have permission to use this. We are the ones who give you permission." I love that from Urson. He's right. The problem is we're upside down. We're not used to thinking that way. When it comes to Antifa, if Antifa comes to town, we want to call the sheriff. That's wrong. If Antifa comes to town, you grab your rifle. You call your neighbors. You meet Antifa in the street. You defend yourselves. This is Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, where they did exactly that. And I've been in 18 counties now where this exact thing has happened. And in every single case, there wasn't a single bullet fired. Antifa just got back in the vans and drove on to the next place. This is you being the government. They didn't call the government for help. My point is, what do you do when there's a problem with your election? You go run to the government. What's wrong with you? You are the government. When Antifa comes to town, you defend yourselves. When you have a problem with your elections, fix it yourself. You're the government. It's a whole mindset shift. But we're trained into this compliant mode. Stop being compliant. Defend yourselves. You are the government. And I like what Sam Adams says. He says, it doesn't take a majority to prevail, just an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. When it comes to the Second Amendment, the government says we have to turn in our guns. What do we say? Pound sand, baby. Come and take them, right? But when they demand our ballots, we turn them over without a fight. What's wrong with us? Our ballots are how we defend our gun rights. Our ballots are how we defend our children. And yet we're just giving those up. We have to change the way we think about this. We don't give them back control. We're going to take control away. We take control away by showing that the system is unconstitutional and depriving of our constitutional rights. It's your constitutional duty to defend your constitutional voice and your neighbor's voice. I'll just finish with this story, and thanks for being patient with me. I'm having a good time. So I was at this little tavern up in northern Wisconsin a while back. And at the end of my talk, people were lined up to take selfies and ask questions and things. This beautiful old couple comes up to me, and the lady puts her hand on my shoulder. Husband puts his hand on my shoulder, and she says, "Dr. Frank, we want to pray for you." I said, "Oh, that's great. Please do." So she started praying. Little did I know this lady was a loud prayer. She started really getting going and working it up. Big, loud prayer. And so everybody in the tavern stopped talking because everybody was listening, right? And so people began to come up to the front. There were 30 people were laying hands on me. It was awesome. It was like a prayer meeting, like a revival. It was awesome. I loved every second of it. And she was all worked up, and she was wrapping up her prayer. And she says, "Hey, thank you, Lord, for giving us Dr. Frank, and that he's fighting the evil Goliath of election corruption and government corruption. And Lord, we just thank you for giving him such a big slingshot to fight Goliath with. And Lord, we just pray that you'll give him really big stones." That's what she said. I told this story in Michigan about a couple months ago, and she was in the audience. She goes, "Yeah, that was me." But it made me think about a whole new thing about this. I thought about the story in a whole new way. Do you remember when David went there? He didn't go there to fight Goliath. He went there to visit his brothers and to bring them lunch and to bring back news to his fathers, right? That's what he was there for. So he goes to his brothers and he says, "There's this guy out in the field insulting our God and insulting our nation. Get out there and take care of business." Do you remember what his brothers said to him? "Who are you? Go back to the sheep. Comply." The problem was not Goliath. The problem was the children of Israel were hiding in the hills. Our problem is not our election system. It's the Goliath we're facing. But the problem is we're hiding in the hills. We got to find our stones. We got to step up. We got to fight this battle. And I know it's scary. I'm out here every day. It's scary. We're fighting for our lives here. This is our very life of our country. And you think about it, it's us against the government. It feels very intimidating. Jefferson said, when the people are afraid of the government, that's tyranny. When the government is afraid of the people, that's liberty. I like what Patrick Burns said. He said the only reason the Bezmenoff Resolution isn't successful is because we have so many guns. Get them out, baby. Start wearing them. We need to overtly use our constitutional rights so we don't lose them. And overtly use your right to vote. Interesting. See where I'm going with all this? Anyway, I know that that's scary, but we need to find our stones. We need to. You remember this kid, right? Remember this kid in Tiananmen? That was amazing. And the thing is, if it's only one of you, we lose. Because one of you is a fruitcake. I bet you that fruitcake's in this room. The one who goes and talks to the county commissioners all the time? If not, maybe two people, the fruitcake with their friend. You know what I'm talking about? You're winning, and the 7 steps. I always tell my people when I'm training them in the 7 steps, you're winning when you can make a phone call and 50 people show up at the county commissioner meeting the next day or the city commissioner meeting the next day, and they show up and they crowd the room and they start reading all the cases of fraud and disenfranchising their constitutional rights right into the public record and demanding that you not use the systems anymore. That's how you know. There are 50 inside and 50 outside on the streets with signs and flags and guns. And I always tell people, you've got to have people on the street with guns and dress them in camo. They got to look as redneck as you can make them. Because then it makes it the cover of the newspaper that day. Right? This is a lot of the tactics we've learned across the country are right out of Rules for Radicals, or right out of these. These are great tactics. They've been used against us for decades. So we need to use them back on them. They work. They're proven techniques. We don't seem to know our own power. We got to rediscover that. So thank you very much for your attention.